You gotta understand.
When the police got killed, they came down on Michael Jackson before the police got killed.
And you look at the fact, right?
Yeah.
That because you have isolated police shootings,
Yeah.
the mayor, the police commissioner, and all the powers that be have declared war on our young brothers.
Prosecutors say Officer Derrick Chauvin had his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
The officer apparently using a banned chokehold on Garner. The father of 6 later died.
Sergeant DeAndrea was arraigned today via video conference.
My name is Derrick Hamilton. Family and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted was founded inside prison, Auburn Correctional Facility upstate. It was a bunch of incarcerated men who were filing motions and appeals in the criminal justice system, was being systematically denied due to systemic racism and other factors. We decided to get our family members together and get them to go out and organize. I contacted my wife, Nicole Hamilton, and said, look, we need you, we need you, we need you, you know, and she contacted Lonnie Suri, who was another co-founder, and they began giving rallies outside of courtrooms, outside of court buildings and City Hall, and it brought attention to our plight. It was based on those rallies that I was able to get out of prison and parole, and then I came out and joined the effort. We start rallying in front of the Brooklyn Supreme Court downtown to remove Charles Hines. We were successful in getting him out of the office and helping elect his predecessor, Ken Thompson, who exonerated 22 men in 2 years and who found that there was a systemic problem in Kings County in locking up innocent men and women. That was what we all knew. And family and friends just kept beating the streets, kept organizing, and kept moving to change legislation, which we joined the Innocence Project, Rebecca Brown and them over there, and helped change a lot of the laws and criminal justice reform. We work with almost every organization out there that's involved in this work because we are for real about it. We know firsthand from being in prison with these brothers and sisters, knowing that every year, according to the stats, 2% of 2 million people are wrongfully convicted. So that leaves us with at least 20,000 people a year being railroaded by our criminal justice system. Too many people for us to just turn a blind eye to. So we stand with them people, we stand with them brothers and sisters. We are a grassroots organization that's dedicating our lives to fight back. My wife got a support group for women and their families and their children because we know that wrongful conviction affect more than just the person incarcerated, but it affect the entire family, the entire community. You hear a little bit more about that from Kevin Smith and Nicole, but family and friends is exactly what it is. Family and friends who going up against the criminal justice system. We know that in numbers there's strength, and we coming with numbers.
Yeah, I just want to begin by saying I'm Kevin Renny Smith. I'm a victim of a wrongful conviction. I served 27 years in prison for a crime I didn't commit. The work we're doing today is very important because we raising public awareness on incidents of wrongful convictions. 30, 40 years ago, wrongful convictions wasn't even on the hearts, the minds of the people. Today, due to our work, we're putting it out there, showing what's going on in the criminal justice system, where people are being affected by what we call a disease. And we look at it as a public health crisis because it's destroying families, communities. And the work we're doing is very important. You know, we've been successful in helping to get 19 people exonerated since the inception of our organization. You know, we've been helping families that's impacted by this disease. Today, you know, we have a commissary program, and we have a van where we take families to go up there and visit their loved ones, and we provide them with food and everything. Again, because when you take a lot of time the male away from the family, he's the breadwinner, that's the income, and that's taken out of the family. So that's affected, and we try to help in them areas any way we can. So we just want to continue to bring a breath of life to those people and, you know, be a breath of fresh air. And we just want to allow them to utilize our shoulders to lean on, because today we're operating from our lived experience that we went through, that we went down. So we know what this disease looked like. We have been affected by it, whether we was incarcerated for it or whether our families was affected by it. So we're just trying to become this secure and help people that's affected by this deadly disease.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I actually have a support group called Suffering in Silence. And the reason for my support group and why I actually started it was because when my husband was incarcerated and I was dealing with the impact of his conviction and supporting him while he was incarcerated, I didn't have an outlet. I didn't have a rule book. I didn't have any guidance or anyone to be able to talk with and share my pain or any suffering or anything that I encounter about the whole incarceration period that he was gone. So upon his release, I actually started this support group called Suffering in Silence because I remained in contact with the ladies who I actually traveled upstate with who still had their husbands behind the walls. So I wanted to be able to bring forth my pain and turn it into a passion, to be able to share my story and my experience with other women who were actually going through what I was going through. And in the process of that, it allowed me to deal with the pain and all the hurt of what I experienced by actually being a prisoner's wife and being able to be supportive of someone else who's actually going through the same tragedy that they actually face. And also being able to allow children to have an outlet, to allow children to be able to just express what they're going through, what they're feeling about the abandonment of the family member that was removed from the home. So alongside with that, during the pandemic, we actually had a food pantry and we had a clothing bank where we actually gave out free food and free clothing to our community where the office is located in Crown Heights. And it was during that time that we actually were able to speak with the community members and realize that people are suffering, and they're suffering in silence, not just because of the impact of incarceration, but just the day-to-day life of the things that we actually go through. So I decided to expand my support group, not just for families and friends who support someone that's incarcerated, but just to be able to deal with and be an outlet and provide a safe environment for anyone to be able to come and speak about any pain that they're actually suffering with in silence. Because a lot of times the women hold a lot of the burden and a lot of the weight of what goes on a day-to-day basis, raising the children and actually being the head of the household, not necessarily the provider, but just the head of the household. And at times you are embarrassed, you are ashamed, you don't know where to turn, you don't know who to confide in. And I want to be able to provide that safe, open, free, judge-free environment to where you can come and share your pain.
Well, for each of us, there's different roles. My day-to-day work is reading transcripts, evaluating letters and information we receive from people who said that they're wrongfully convicted. So I'm the legal director. My job is to get through the red tape and try to find out whether or not we have enough evidence to establish that we want to take on someone's case who have wrote and said, hey, I'm wrongfully convicted. I was wrongfully ID'd. My job is to look at the identification when he says wrongfully ID'd and make a determination whether or not there was some suggestive police practices that caused this wrongful conviction? And if so, to red flag that case and ask expert or somebody to take a look at it and give us a report on his beliefs. So my job is to evaluate legal cases every single day. I also work with a law firm, Justin Bonus, and I work on cases there. So I'm just bogged down every single day with trying to help somebody who's wrongfully convicted get out of prison. And that's through whether it's picking up the phone, speaking to a prosecutor, whether it's writing a motion, whether it's reading transcripts and trying to strategize, whether it's talking to lawyers and giving them a direction as to where we should proceed or how we should proceed on a particular case. So for me, that's my day-to-day. I'm always on the phone speaking to somebody that may be calling from prison or who may have got the number to ask questions. I'm always available to give them free consults. That's me. I mean, and I pass it on to Nicole to say what her day-to-day is like, and Kevin, and whichever way I want to go.
Yeah, Kevin, let's go back to Kevin.
Yeah, I serve as executive director of this organization.
Say that one more time, bro, but didn't hear.
I serve as executive director as the organization. Nicole Hamilton, Derrick Hamilton, Lonnie Sorry allowed me to take on this role. I take it with great pride. My day-to-day job is infrastructure. I work on capacity building. I got to make the right connections and make sure we got the right people sits on our board because they're instrumental in helping us with funding and other resources we may need. I have to reach out to various organizations that's doing similar work to us, as us, do some collaboration work as well. I look for volunteers and everything. Right now, we just limited in staff. It's just, just me, Derrick, Nicole, and Lonnie, you know what I'm saying? But in the future, moving forward, we're going to have to set up a line staff and everything. So I'm going to have to make sure all that's coming through. But my day-to-day is staying on the phone. I'm on the phone all the time, or either I'm on my laptop, making all the necessary connections so we could just get this organization afloat and get it where it need to be so we could be effective in doing this work that we set out to do.
My day-to-day is a little mixture of everything, right? So I answer the phone calls for anyone inquiring about needing legal assistance. So just be in the forefront of answering a phone call and to hear the impact, just the eagerness, the need that's needed by whomever that's calling, that's desperately pleading of needing legal assistance for their loved one that's incarcerated. So it allows me to have, one, empathy, right? Because I know what it's like to have a loved one in prison and you really want to get them home, but you may not know how, you may not have the resources or the finances to be able to do so. And then for two, just to be that barrier of support to try to help guide them in the right direction, rather it be actually sending them the questionnaire that we require everyone to fill out in order for Derrick to be able to assess it legally to see if we are in a position to be able to help them or to refer it to a law firm, right? So it's a direct communication dealing with the family member, and a lot of times they're at their wit ends. Like they call me, they're crying, they're hysterical, they're saying we don't know what to do. We thought it would go this way, it's not going that way. I mean, legally, I don't know all the answers for them, right? But I'm also the person that they talk to. I introduce them and explain to them about the support group that I have. Because again, the anxiety, the just having your back against the wall and not knowing which direction to go, and just being able to provide the support that's actually needed for them. So that's one component of it. The other component is the finances, just making sure that we have the money and utilize the money that we do receive to be able to pay the rent, be able to pay the things that we need and to be able to have money for someone's legal case. So any donations that we receive is very important because it goes towards helping to fight to bring someone home, right? We also have a commissary drive where every month I send packages to people that are incarcerated. So the members of our organization, because we do have members, and we ask them to provide us with some names of some people that you feel would benefit from a commissary package. And this encouraged them to become a member of our organization because this is one of the benefits that you actually receive. So again, it's just remembering the struggles of what people go through while being incarcerated. Just remembering that you as a family member or supporter of someone that's incarcerated, you may not have it, but it doesn't mean that the person that's incarcerated should be deprived of any bare necessities. So if it's just us sending a food package, just to let them know that they're thought of and we're here to support you in any which way that we possibly can, that's something that I actually do as well. Again, I have the support group, so that's something that I run on a monthly basis. But every day I'm in communication with the ladies of the support group, right? It's also the social media pages, just trying to help to put our word out of our name of our organization and exactly what we do. Also trying to speak with volunteers, just trying to get people to show and have an interest in the work that we do, and just explaining to them the importance of what we do and how we need everyone to be involved. You can't look at it like, okay, my loved one is not incarcerated, so therefore it's not important to me. Because you never know when the tables will turn and it will be your loved one incarcerated. So it is important, and it's a community. It's a community thing where everyone has to be involved, right? Because the same people that are incarcerated are the ones that are returning to our communities. So it's just educating them and letting them know that you are involved in one way, form, or fashion. And as Renny said, just to build the connections, being able to try to find employment opportunities, maybe housing, finding referrals, connecting with other agencies and organizations that are in line with the work that we do.
Well, let me just say that for me, I learned law by reading books on my own. I didn't go to college. I didn't go to law school. I didn't go to any institution of higher learning to be able to master the art that I mastered. So people are amazed when I discuss law from an intellectual capacity, how much I know about the rule of law, self-learn. So my objective is to make sure that everybody that listens to the podcast is educated on the rule of law, because the rule of law operates in all aspects of our life, whether we want to believe it or not, right? There's somebody making a law and a rule right now that's going to affect your liberty, right? What you can do and what you cannot do, right? And how you respond to that rule of law is very important, right? So right now, we can use current events, right? The mayor is saying that they're going to use certain technology, right, to, in my opinion, infringe on citizens' right to be free of illegal search and seizure, right? So our job is to educate the masses about that. What to do if you stop by the police officer and frisk unlawfully, right? What is your recourse, right? And what do, right? How do you respond to things like that? Because we think that it's our ability to educate the young, right? And to have a narrative of our own when people are attacking young kids and saying that they are the enemy and they declaring war on babies in our community. Our job is to defend against that and to stand up for those babies and let them know that there's other ways to deal with it than just throwing them in prison, right? And subjecting them to the harsh conditions of that reality, which is going to ruin them and traumatize them and send them to mental hospitals and situations that we got with people on the train now pushing people. So we trying to stop the trauma that prison caused, and we trying to public safety in the community from a different narrative, right? We want to talk about real life experiences, real life solutions, because believe me, whether you believe me or not, the evidence is that the government knows how to achieve the task without declaring war on these young people. They just choose to use that method because it's politically, what their constituents want to hear. I'm tough on crime. I'm going to go after somebody. I'm going to stop all of this. But it hasn't worked since the history of America, right? Those tactics haven't worked, right? And there's studies and scientific stats that show why they haven't worked, right? We all know that adolescents' brains are not developed until they're 25 years old because a part of their brain don't understand consequences. This is science. So instead of teaching kids consequences in public school and making sure they're educated about this stuff so they know what a short-term consequence is, what a long-term consequence is, what negative self-talk is, how these things develop and inflate your mind to go out there and commit a crime. They wait till they lock them up in prison to teach these things upstate somewhere where there's some farmer now getting a job and his family living off our backs and our sweat. So we want to change that. We want to have the narrative. We want to challenge our legislators. We want to challenge our elected officials to put these particular programs in school, right, to help our youth. We want to let them know that under no terms do we, our family and friends of the wrongfully convicted, support a war on our young people, right? We support our young people. We believe that they can be rehabilitated because science has proven that. We're not throwing the towel away from them because they did something stupid, because we know as adolescents we all do something stupid. That's what adolescent is.
Some adults.
Right. Absolutely.
Some stuff that's stupid. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I love it, man. I'm excited about this program.
I just hope that we able to put ourselves in a position where we could have people believe and understand that people go to prison for crime they didn't commit. There's a lot of people in society right now that don't believe that the criminal justice system send people to prison. We are the faces of what that injustice look like. We have been infected by this disease, affected and effected. We are the results of it. Our communities and our families have been destroyed, and we want to stop this, as Derrick alluded to a little earlier. We want to stop this from happening, so we want to continue to do this work and help. Primarily, we focus on people who are impacted by wrongful convictions, but we do a number of activities.
Can you talk about
yes.
that?
This over the summer, few months ago, we took on an initiative dealing with cure violence. NYCHA put out a workshop, Heal the Violence workshop, and we took it upon. You know why we was able to do that? Through our experience, our insight, and our expertise. And we was able to work with some youth. We had about 15 youth who we was able to work with, and we provided them with the skills and the tools and education they needed so they could go out there and help and become leaders in their respective community and combat that violence, because we want to stop that, as Derrick talked about. We want to help empower and uplift our community. Yeah. When I left prison, personally, I said when I leave prison, I want to leave prison as a fireman. I want to be equipped with all the skills, tools, education that I could acquire, so when I could come out here and help put that fire that I once started 30, 40 years ago. So that's the reflection of the work that families and friends are doing today. We also take part in, like Nicole said, we do a food pantry. We did a survey during the pandemic where we seen that people right in our neighborhood, right outside our office door, was affected. They fell on hard time. They was unable to work. So we took money out of our own pocket and set up a food pantry, start serving a family of 4 once a week. Those are some of the things we do, we just want to try to enrich and empower our community as any way we can.
You got the numbers wrong, brother. Family of 4 once a week. You saying we was only feeding 4 people once a week?
No, I said a family of 4 for once a week. A family of 4 for once a week. A family of 4 for once a week.
Well, how many families was you feeding?
Oh, we was feeding, it all depends on, it varies week to week. Sometimes we may feed 110 families. Right. Another week we may feed 80 families. Right. All depends on, how people was coming out, how they was feeling that day. Yeah. It was a family of 4 for 1 week. Prior to the pandemic, we was going inside the jails and the schools, and we speaking to youth about the consequences and their actions and everything, because at the end of the day, we didn't want them to end up like us. Right. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, people go to people go to prison for crimes they didn't commit. Like for me, I wasn't no angel, but I wasn't a person they accused for this crime. Right. So I know the lifestyle I was living at that time. I know had I went straight away from my mother Christian values and moral teachings, the chance of me going to prison for something I ain't do probably would have been slim to none. So we try to teach this and instill this into the youth, because at the end of the day, we don't want them to go down that road.
Yeah, good.
Talking about Harlem, we were just in Harlem, brother.
Yeah.
What it was, a month ago, right? With the Exonerated 5. Yeah. He was there with the Innocence Project. We were here today to actually legislate to pass bills on wrongful convictions. We asking that police officers no longer can lie to suspects during interrogations. We also asking that the 440 bill that is post-conviction include people that plead guilty. Don't discriminate against them, they're human beings. That everybody that's innocent should have the right to come before the court with evidence to prove they're innocent and be released. So these are some of the bills we action that we passed. Innocence Project, Vocal, Family and Friends of the Wrongfully Convicted, and others have came together to ask for legislative action to right the criminal justice system. Right, and we was there to get a piece of legislation enacted, or 3 pieces of legislation enacted. One would be to stop police officers lying to youth doing custodial interrogation. Because the law as it now stands, aggressively, absolutely. So the law as it now stands in America, is police officers can lie to you when they pick you up. They can tell you that they got your DNA, they got you on the video, that it's over, right? And then you start to say, you start talking because you believe this police officer. So we want to change that. We want to make the playing field when you get picked up by a police officer, that he has to tell you the truth, that he can't lie to you to get you to confess, right? We also trying to change the post-conviction bill in New York. It's codified under Criminal Procedure Law 440.10. So we want to change that law so that if a person files a motion of this sort, he can get counsel. He can get the right to counsel, a lawyer that automatically attaches to the motion that can help him articulate his points of law and argue it correctly before court. We also had another piece of legislation attached to the bill that directly, dealing with letting people out of prison, man, that don't belong there, whether they're 55 and older, and things of that nature. But we are definitely up in Harlem with part of that legislation. We work with the Innocence Project, Color of Change, Vocal, different organizations around the country that's involved in this work.
Criminal justice reform.
And definitely in the New York area. Whenever there's left, today I was on the phone call with Ruben Wills, Jonathan Ellerstein, Rob Rickner, and a young lady whose name I don't remember first time meeting today, but we were repealing, we're making a new 8B. 8B is the compensation in New York State, Court of Claims Act 8B, when a person is innocent, how they get compensated is by filing a claim in a state court of claims under Article 8B. There's a lot of provisions in there that we feel is unconstitutional, that discriminates against people, and we're writing a new bill so that it applies to everybody that's innocent, that nobody is discriminated, and we thinking about a fellow actual innocence team member, Richard Rosario, who was found innocent, yet and still he can't sue in the court of claims because a provision in the court of claims doesn't permit innocence. That's not a enumeration. So we're trying to change that, and we're trying to name it after Richie. The Richie Rosario law, right? And we're going to reach out to Richie and see if he wants us to use his name. But that was a conversation today. Ruben Wells, prior city council member, one of my mentors, Jonathan Ellerstein, a lawyer in New York, is the guy that helped me be exonerated, and Rob Rickner is a great civil rights guy that I referred to. We had that intellectual conversation today, and we took the task on to try to rewrite this statute to make it fair for everybody. We also want to put in the statute two other provisions. One is that once a person is declared innocent by New York State, automatically he's paid for whatever many years he worked in prison at a what you call a rate, the
Minimum wage?
minimum wage.
At least.
At least, immediately when he get out. So you don't have to wait for compensation. He get 20-something years or 15 years he did minimum wage pay immediately. And we also want to make sure that the community in which he came from, that lost the years of finances that he might have had, he'd been there, is given extra resources to help his reentry and to make that community whole. So we trying to, and we also want to make sure that when you file your civil suit and you get paid, that the state pays the lawyers and that the person that was affected doesn't have to pay, like they're presently doing. So we trying to change all those things.
Okay.
That, as Nicole spoke about, we have turned our pain into passion. I mainly, and I always say this, I follow behind Derrick. I ask him all the time when we by ourselves, Derrick, why do you come back and do this work? And he explained to me why. The importance of it, because Renny, we left people behind who look mainly just like us, who's suffering in prison. So we turn our back on them. Who's here? Who's gonna be their voice? When we was in prison, we didn't have no voice. So we are the voice for the voiceless today. Families and friends of wrongfully convicted.
That's all we have.
We their voices. So it's a passion for us. In 2010, when Derrick and Nicole first started this organization, and I joined on in 2012 when I was released, we wasn't set up as no 501c3. We was doing this work rallies. Money was coming mainly out of the Hamilton's pocket to do the work.
Wow.
Until 2019, someone said y'all need to be set up as a 501c3.
Right.
That's passion.
Right.
When Nicole see women who's going through what she's going through and she teach them and share with them, that's passion. When Derrick come back and help people and finance someone's case on his own, that's a passion. When I come back and join and help the sister, help the brother, help Lonnie, that's a passion for this work. So that's what makes us different than a lot of these organizations out here.
Right.
We have our email address is ffwconvictions@gmail.com, and our business telephone number is 718-675-4884. And just another thing I want to say to feed off of what Renny said, the difference between family and friends of the wrongfully conviction and say the Innocent Projects or any other organization that does the work, we do what we do, as Renny said, out of a passion, right? Because we all can be doing something else. But we remember when we was that person, right? So we allowed the pain to turn into a passion, which is now a purpose, to where we help other individuals just like us that actually went through what we went through, right? And then also, we do the work that we do on a shoestring budget. We don't have millions and millions of dollars that's coming through this door. Yes, a lot of the funding came from the Hamiltons, but still, we still did it on a budget. So just imagine if we were able to receive donations and grants and funding from someplace else, more work that we can do. But just to be able to say, as of today, to have 22 wrongful convictions overturned because of the work that we've done, and the lawyers and the law firms that Derrick were actually able to get to commit to the cause, rather they it was a lower fee that they charged a family member to be able to afford it, or just doing it pro bono, shows that there are people out there that do have a passion for it and that are committed, right, to helping with the cause. So it's people like that, and the people that donate to our organization allows us to continue to do the work that we do. And we just hope that in the future we'll be able to get more funding, we'll be able to get more donations, to where we can also be able to, hey, maybe hire just a team of lawyers that can really just be grassrooted to just helping to fight criminal criminal justice issues, and then also maybe having another separate department that will go out to just fight to change legislative laws, to where now the playing field can be leveled to where everybody will have the same rules that apply to everyone. It shouldn't matter because of where you come from or how much money you have. You have a right to be treated as a human being.
That's right.
And inside these prisons, a lot of the things that go on, people in the community really don't know about it until it hits the news, right? But why does it need to hit the news in order for you to know that people are sitting in prison and they're not being treated as human beings? It doesn't matter if you're innocent or you're not innocent. The bottom line is you still should be treated like a human being. And this is not what's happening in these prisons, rather it's state, rather it's city, rather it's in another state or another country. It still doesn't matter, and people need to be aware of this, right? And also know that these men and women are coming back into our communities. So how do you shun somebody that was here, served a purpose, happened to go to prison, and now they're back out? These people still have rights, they still have family members, they still need to be able to provide. So we need the local businesses that's in our communities to be able to hire people that's coming back into the communities. Accept them, don't shun them, accept them, and help them continue along the path of being a righteous, productive person in the society in which they live in. Because if all doors continue to be shut, what are you really showing them?
I believe that the previous administration knew how to hide the numbers, right? And they hid the numbers real good to make it look like, crime was down. I think the media now is sensationalizing violent events more, right? They're showing it more, right? But I think that there is acts of violence that, when you look at them, shouldn't be done in the community, right? A 1-year-old baby, a 1-month-old baby, 11-month-old baby shot, right, by a shootout amongst young people. Shouldn't happen, right? But these things have been happening for a long time in our community, and it just stopped. Like, when you go back in the news, you see it didn't just stop, right? So again, why anger, right? Young people angry. Again, we're talking about 15, 16, 17 years old that not taught in school how to deal with their anger, right? I blame the system, right? You know that this goes on every single day. Why we don't have anger management classes inside public schools, right? Before the kid get the gun, right? Teaching them how, not the negative self-talk, not to think that, oh, these guys think I'm soft, right? Not to listen to their peers. Why is this not being taught in public school, right? Because you're teaching the kid proactively to prepare him for the things that's coming.
No, it was the gun violence program that NYCHA was actually, that we partnered up with. Me and Renny, we were actually the facilitators for those groups. And it was just really basically letting the young people know that we come from your environment, right? Don't think that we're reading to you or talking to you from a textbook. We're not talking from a college degree background. We're the regular people from around your neighborhood that understand what you're going through, can identify what you're going through, but we just want you to be able to know that your choices is what sets forth your destination at times, right? But also sometimes where you live at, can be a disadvantage for you, but it doesn't have to be where your future ends, right? So it's just allowing them to be able to think give them other options, giving them other perspective, different ways to view things and handle yourself, right? And a lot of times, even with the younger generation now, everything is all about visual. Everything is all about social media. So it's like the pressure that's placed on you that you want to feel like you fit in. You don't want to be labeled as the punk. You don't want to be labeled as just a nobody. But again, it's just building up their confidence to know that it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter what people think about you. You are someone that is of importance, but use your brain that you have. Don't worry about so much looking at social media, trying to keep up with the Joneses or just trying to follow suit. Be your own person, because you can follow someone else's road, but it doesn't mean that your destination is going to be theirs. And just giving them options to where, okay, if you are put in a situation and you make a bad choice, because it can happen, right? We're all human, we make mistakes. But again, just letting them know that your choice that you make at the time, at the height of the moment, it's not only going to affect you, it's going to affect your family members, it's going to affect your community, and it's definitely going to affect your future. So just think before you actually respond.
Right.
And trying to break that prison, school to prison pipeline.
Prison pipeline.
Yeah. You know, I just want to give my website, wrongfullyconvicted.info. That's wrongfullyconvicted.info. And on the website, there is a donate now page. As we said earlier, Innocence Project get $30 million a year to fight these convictions. We fight them on our shoestring budget, and our applicants get in more quicker, and our results what they are. We win cases, so we just simply telling them go to our website to get involved. Go to the Action Now page when we advertise our rallies and other things around the country, legislation. Join us.
There's been so many things that's held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming around. I know we've got a long, long way to go, and we're willing